Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Shelby Jo Long. I'm your host, and I run this podcast for a few reasons. I love making connections with people and having conversations about business and growth and how you scale. And I love getting into stories, but I really like to explore the process of a person, a business owner, turning their expertise into a business, into an income stream, to inspire you to think about your expertise a little bit differently. And maybe there's a different place in the marketplace for it. And today I am honored to have Eric Levine on the podcast today to give us so much his story and what he's involved in, what he was involved in the past, and what his current, I guess, ambitions are in his new industry and education is so exciting and inspiring. So, Eric, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited that you're here with us today.
Thank you so much, Shelby, for having me, and looking forward to answering your killer questions.
Yes, I love that. It should be a good time. But can you could you give our audience an overview of your backgrounds? You have your background spans from Gold's Gym and the fitness industry. And can you just give us that 360-degree view of who you are and what your multiple business journeys have been?
Sure, Shelby. How many hours do we have?
No kidding. We can go as long as you want.
I'll try to make it fun also. So my first thing with entrepreneurship, I was 4 or 5, and I saw in the back of my Sad Sack comic book that if I sell seeds, enough seeds, I can get a football. So I said to my father, who was an entrepreneur, what does this mean? He said, well, go, you order the seeds from the comic book, and then go take your bicycle, get people to buy the seeds, and you're going to end up with a football. I said, that is so easy. So I did it. We only had mail then, probably by stagecoach. And I got the seeds, and I said, Dad, so what do I do? He's packing. He helped me out, and I took my red tricycle with the bells and all that, started ringing my bell right up to the door, say, hi, I'm your neighbor, and my father told me that you're going to buy some seeds to help me start my business career. And he had written a little script for me, and I modified it. And
yeah,
who's not going to buy $1 worth of seeds from a 5-year-old kid on his tricycle when my father told me you're going to buy, and if someone said, well, I'm not sure. I said, well, I have to go back and tell my father.
You had some good sales strategy, learning that very young. Yeah.
Takeaway clothes, assumptive clothes into takeaway clothes, into some tears and sympathy clothes. I knew everything by 5 and a half, and got my football, got a baseball mitt out of it. And I thought, okay, then I enhanced my entrepreneurship. My brother was an entrepreneur at the time, and he created this gambling win or lose certain number, like a roulette machine on the back of the skateboard. And we made a fortune going through the neighborhood until the parents demanded we gave them money back. But it lasted for a while. So I always, it was in my blood as a kid. And I'll tell you, I'll go sideways a little bit because it does mean a lot. It's a funny story. So when I was 17 years old, at the time, women and men did not work out the same time. I worked for a chain of 12 clubs called like Vic Tandy's, like Jack LaLanne. Monday, Wednesday, Friday were women. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday were men. And I got a job there, a really intensive training. My training from the head guy was, do you have a light blue shirt? I said, I do. Do you have running shoes? I said, yes. He said, okay, you're hired. So that was the extensive training I had. I didn't even know what I was supposed to do. So I went there, and I guess I had to show them exercise, and I took all the guests on tour. And about 3 days into it, the manager comes down and says, can you take me on a tour? I says, sure, why? He says, everyone you took on a tour bought a membership. And a membership, I mean, we're talking 1972 was $1,000.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what this was, not like $9 a month now.
Right.
He says, everyone buys. I said, isn't that what you want? He says, yeah, what's your technique? So it goes back to my tricycle. I listened to what they wanted, heard what they needed, and presented that. This is your place. Welcome to the club. Make a long story short, we had 12 locations. He promoted me to sales counselor, system manager. I was manager of the head office. And I was making, to give you reference, Shelby, a brand new 427, 435 horsepower Corvette was 5,000. Okay. And I'm 17 and I'm making $3,000 a month. So I can get a Corvette every 5 weeks. That gives you
Yeah.
how 3 days a week in an atmosphere that I love. So
That's awesome.
selling and all that is second nature to me. Listen and provide, take your ego out of it, really give them whatever industry you're in. So I was brought up in Montreal.
A simple formula that we hear, and it's intimidating, especially to newer entrepreneurs, and especially to entrepreneurs of their own genius, because it's putting a value on your genius and your expertise. And there's a lot, when a lot of the people I've worked with, it's been a challenge to actually do that and put that value on, then to actually sell it to somebody else. It's a challenge.
Well, it goes along the lines of you must understand completely who your avatar is, your ideal customer, not what you think. Okay. And I have many examples of me, messing up on that because I thought, and you have to know who your customer is. Not like a Bud Light. Okay.
Right.
So perfect example of the opposite of what I'm talking about. Okay. You need to know who your customer is when you're spending money on branding and marketing, advertising.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll get into that because I learned my branding in a very strange way. So, as I said, I can get a Corvette every 5 weeks. And someone told me to go and get, in the middle of winter, it's January in Montreal, snow 10 feet high, minus a million, to go get the Newsweek magazine. I said, okay, I'll get it tomorrow. It was already evening. He said, no, get it tonight. So I take my bulldog through this sleet, and on the cover of Newsweek magazine, beautiful, like Christy Brinkley lady throwing her hair back. The title was The GOs of Club Med, the people that work for Club Med, the true gypsies of the world. I didn't know what GM meant. It was a French word for nice organizer. I didn't know what Club Med was. And I read those 10 pages. And the last part said, and after all that party, the maids came the next morning, cleaned up. It was like a tuning fork pitched to my spirit. I stayed up all night, wrote my resume, BS'd it, most of it, sent it to Paris that night, and I got the job. And the job was, I was an actor putting on the shows at night. And so I'm in Montreal making over $3,000 a month. And now I have to go tell my father, Dad, I've got some great news. He said, what's that? And he had been telling everybody, all my family, how much money I was making, more than doctors and lawyers.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to Martinique. He says, what's Martinique? I said, it's an island in the French West Indies. He said, oh, are you going on vacation? I said, no, I'm going to work there. He said, what do you mean you're going to work in Martinique? I said, yeah. Naturally, the next question, how much are you going to make? So Jewish father, so proud of his son, living at home, $3,500 a month. Leaving home for Martinique, And I said, Dad, I'm making $60 a month.
Oh, I bet he had quite a reaction with that.
Well, he didn't react.
Yeah.
I think I put him into some sort of a trauma. He asked me the same question again. How much are you going to make? I said it again. Kind of like a dog when they hear a strange noise. And he kind of vaped by me. And I left that job to go to Martinique for $60 a month at Club Med. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because this is where I learned about passion, value, overvalue, and understanding your customer and understanding branding. The commercial that they had at the time was a nice lady or man on the beach, sipping a cool drink and hair back. Club Med, the antidote to civilization. 15 seconds, that's it. We had a 3-star hotel room. Our shows were 3 stars at best, sports 3 stars, food 3 stars. Everyone at the parking lot, when they were supposed to take the bus to go back home, was hysterically crying. They weren't going home for anything. Doctors would leave their practice to stay on the scuba boat to be the scuba doctor. They're not going home. And it wasn't any of the things that I said. It was about the experience. We hit them in their
Feeling of that. That's so cool.
We that 1 week or two, we transformed them. They never expected that. Even though we had a good reputation, we touched their heart. And we were sold out, oversold every week. I worked there for 4 years, every week. And it was the same thing, whether I was in Sicily, south of France, Mexico, Tahiti, because every 6 months they sent us to a different place. And I learned about branding and I learned about hiring. When I went to New York, here's a crazy story. I went to my interview. There was 1,000 people there and they were all beautiful models, and the guys all had 6, 8 packs. They were just, yeah. And I got hired. And then as the entertainer, now I'm in Mexico, Cancun, Mexico. If you've ever been there, when I started, we were the only hotel on that beach. Now there's brick to brick.
Yeah.
We were the first. So I had 4 musicians with me at all times, 2 trumpets and 2 of the big guitars. So after a long day of arrivals, I would take my group and we were all dressed up in regalia, the big hats with the things, like we were proud. And I said to my group, we go and we play whatever song, but we never give up for the pride of Mexico. We play until we're finished. Well, the rooms were small, full concrete, and we didn't have locks on the doors. So we would enter quietly into the room, which was the bedroom. And I go, unos, dos, tres, cuatros, and east, west, north, and south. We would play this song while people were sleeping. And that was the beginning of the transformation of this week's going to be different.
Yeah.
The guy that hired me, Shelby, was in that room, one of the rooms. He said, let's have breakfast tomorrow. He said to me, how many people do you think we hired on that weekend? I said, 1,000? I said, no. I said, how many? He said, you.
1.
I said, come on, me? Why me? Because I speak French? He says, no. And he said, you see that crazy sparkle in your eye? That's who we are. And I knew that the second I shook your hand. I didn't listen to anything. I didn't listen to any of the BS you told me after. I had already made up my mind. And I'm thinking, when I was in Club Med, we were 100 strong. We had lots of fun. We all had that sparkle, that passion, that wildness, that craziness that was the DNA of what they wanted. And hiring right or hiring wrong in whatever industry you're in, it's one of the fundamentals of success or failure. And I watched everything. We were all the same, and we were tireless because we were having so much fun. At $60, I would have stayed there for anything. And I met people from all over the world, all different cultures. And I got my PhD in branding, watching everything that we did. And it was $1 million education while having the greatest time of my life. So,
well, and I think I think of your dad, right? Like, why are you leaving this well-paying job to go do this? But you're at a perfect age to do that. And that's such a great place to discover all those things. And I think it's such an important thing too, especially as like new business owners. We think about brand, and we think that brand is a logo and how things look on a website. But the brand is so much more than that, because it's about the feeling, and it's about the emotion that's behind it. And it's about that's how you create that loyalty and that thriving community. The brand is so much more about the experience of it, as you stated, than it is just about the visual representation.
so right.
Such an important lesson.
The branding doesn't leave when you leave the gym. The branding is your how you're feeling about your life, remembering how crazy it was. You open up the door and, like, we didn't have Walkmans at the time, Van Halen jump like you're in concert. And hey, how you doing? Nice to see you, Shelby. You look great. You haven't brought a friend in a while, but nice to see you. I created my fitness world on the exact same escapism that Club Med. I hired the same style. We had the volume. I was so strict about branding that I would go to every club and I'd mark the volume. If I came to your club and your volume was lower, there was a problem. And I did all my own CDs with my DJs. You had to play those, nothing else. The TVs had to have FTV, fashion TV, sports, MTV, nothing else. We had a very strict code of who we were. And it doesn't matter what you do. As you said, Shelby, it's about the feeling that brand represents. And it's everything. Branding is everything.
So Eric, can you tell our audience your experience with Gold's Gym, and then how that went through, just so they have a reference point for how influential you were and are in that industry, in Gold's Gym and many other gyms. So can you give us an overview of that so our audience has an idea?
Thank you. I will. I was an actor, I thought, starving actor, and I had gotten this is an interesting universe, Dr. Joe Dispenza type of quantum physics. So I got my first break. It's in Mardi Gras. It's a big shoot. I have a good role with Goldie Hawn that far back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cool. And we were rehearsing. It had been raining every day in LA at the time. And my agent asked me to come to his office. And I said, "Hi, Percy, what's up?" He said, "Mardi Gras canceled." What? How? They went on strike, the union, so it's off. So, okay, so where are we going to shoot? No, it's off. I had already spent all that money. Trust me. I was so depressed, and I was standing there on Sunset Boulevard, and this beautiful Porsche Turbo went in front of me, and I was in front of a mud puddle, and it tsunami'd me. So the tears and the mud and all of that, I just walked all the way down to Pacific Coast Highway and to my house in Venice Beach. And I said, I took off my boots, I lied on my bed, I said, "Okay, I get it. I'm not supposed to be an actor. I don't know anything else. What am I supposed to do?" And I fell asleep and woke up in the morning and went to Gold's Gym where I worked out every day in Venice. And I'm standing there at the time, men and women didn't work out, but the women that did work out in Gold's were very tough, really tough, tougher than Schwarzenegger. And this girl comes in that morning, very attractive girl, and says, thinking I work there, will you train me to get in great shape? And I said, me here? I said, is this the crowd that you think you feel comfortable? She said, yeah, it's kind of cool. Got that cult feeling.
Sure.
And I said, would your friends feel the same way, or you're just that way? She said, no, my friends would come also. And it was the universe whispering in my ear. And I went immediately to the owner of Gold's Gym at the time. Said, I'd like to buy your name. I'll take it to Canada. Make a long story short, I bought the name for Toronto where I first started for $2,500. I sold over $500,000 of t-shirts in my first year, and I opened up my first club. Then I opened up a second, third, whatever, and I opened up a chain of Golds. And that's how my real fitness career started. Whatever you call it, karma, providence, being able to listen to your inner voice,
Sure.
see how synchrodestiny, the first domino, follows you, being able to hear it. I've been doing meditation all my life, pretty used to hearing my insides talking when it's right. And that was really the beginning.
Genius. That's your intuition, and you followed it. That's the core of being a genius entrepreneur. You followed what your core was telling you to do, and you were guiding, and
And
there's where it is. That's why you're on this podcast.
And I created the Gold's Gym with the same feeling of Club Med. I made it the same escape. You open the door here, you're in a new world, and nobody knows your last name. You're not going to get a bill here. This is a place for you to look and feel the best you possibly can. That's how I started.
And how many gyms then did you open?
Well, I opened up 6 there and 2 in Santa Barbara, sold them, and then I joined my mentor who just passed away. He's 94 years old, Ray Wilson, and we opened up 72 locations called Family Fitness Centers in mostly California, Nevada. And then we merged with 24-Hour Nautilus. Mark Mastro was the CEO, and we called ourselves 24-Hour Fitness. So I came as a shareholder there, and I went to Asia and I opened up my own chain, California Fitness Centers, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, Korea, China, Australia, Malaysia, everywhere. And we were the first fitness chain. They had no idea about fitness at the time.
Really?
Yeah. And I was so bullish. My first club in 1995, the rent was $250,000 a month. And everyone telling me the Chinese people will not work out. The women will not sweat in front of a man. You'll never find the building you're looking for. Because I had already manifested to the T what I needed. And I smelt the success. I heard the music. I saw my staff. I saw the members. I had already manifested it. And $250K, 6 months deposit. We were in for $1.5 million before I sold one membership. But again, I listened to my intuition. I manifested it, and we invested $4.5 million. Remember, 1995, $4.5 million. In our 3rd month, we retrieved all of our money.
Wow.
And
that's listening, understanding your audience's needs, fulfilling those needs, and then getting them to trust you. And then you build the community around the trust. That's the recipe for a genius entrepreneur. Exactly.
My sales team, they didn't know who I was or believe. They mostly believed. We pre-sold in 6 weeks, 3,600 memberships. There was
Wow.
about 5 or 6 of us. I went on Friday to the bank and I gave those 6 people approximately 70,000 US dollars for 1 week's work. Cash.
Wow.
US dollar cash. Their jaws dropped. And I could have asked them for an organ at the time.
Yeah, right.
As that spread to the
Wow.
universe took that. And I always paid with the more I paid, the more I made.
Yeah.
And I so respect them. I mean, it's not easy to do that, even if you had the best fitness behind you. And we just in our 3rd year, just in that 12-month period, we took in over 100 million US, and our profit EBITDA was 39 million US dollars in that 12-month period.
Amazing.
Yeah, and each
Amazing.
culture is different.
Yeah.
We had to learn it, but fitness was, if it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else. I got there at the right
You
time,
did it at the right time.
and just took off. And when I look back at it and I think about the fun and the money, I also remember the hundreds of letters I got of appreciation for basically saving their life or their husband or wife or son or daughter from fitness. So hopefully, karmatically, that weighs out all the other stuff I've done.
Yeah. That's amazing. What a story of the fitness industry. And you're such a key role in that becoming, it's viral at that point, right? That you made it a viral type of business, and made it a need, or made everybody discover that it was a need in their life. I think that's really, really incredible.
Yeah, your timing, you got to be at the beginning of the wave, but not too far.
Sure.
Well, not at $250 a month rent. And my leadership style is always be the product. Okay, so I was in very great shape at the time. And I was so passionate I knew that we would change people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Up to us, do what we say. 100%, you're going to look and feel better.
You lived the brand for sure.
And we were criticized for hard sell. I did a 60-minute, the biggest show in Asia, called Managing Asia on CNBC. Biggest show. And she started off, before she introduced me, "You're Mr. Hard Sell." And I said, "Hi, I'm Eric Levine. Nice to meet you." I said, "Let me ask you a question," whatever her name was, Catherine. "If there was a magic pill that would make you healthy, happy, give you your dream body, would I have to sell that to you, or you would accept that and eat that right away?" Well, there is no pill. We're in the club. This is the magic pill. We make you feel good, better husband, better wife, better teacher, better son, better doctor, whatever it is. Why would we have to hard sell that? Of course. You mistake our passion for hard sell. That's your mistake. We love what we do. We are what we say we are. And our members emulate exactly what we promised. So if that's hard sell to you, I don't believe that. And that's how we started.
It'll be so, and I'm going to have you talk about your new venture and getting into the education world too. But I think that all of those things are so important, that especially with what's happening with the education industry and what's happening there. So, which is a new, I don't know if it's a new passion of yours, but it's one that's controlling the next move that you have. Can you talk about what's coming up for you in the next, it's happening now, but can you tell us about this new passion, new drive in the education community?
Yeah,
So I think there's some similar themes.
kind of there is. I quit school in grade 9. So I don't have PhDs like you guys have. but I learned other ways. I have an 11-year-old son who's a gifted learner. And in LA, there's 3 gifted schools for all of Los Angeles. So, and I'm Canadian, I'm not left or right, I'm just a parent.
Yeah.
I can't accept a lot of the stuff that I've been seeing in education here. And around the world, investors are looking at, they look at a whole, what's needed. So right now, private schools in America is a glamour stock. 2 reasons why: they make a lot of money, they're in need. And most investors like to have a stake in the game of helping, whatever their cause is, helping the kids, helping the environment, whatever. So Shelby and I, we're both in this group called Bellwether Alliance.
We are, yes.
Yeah, it's a group of entrepreneurs with a credo which keeps us doing the fair, good thing. And in that group, I was approached by Dr. Julie Descharnes and started talking. And she works with a while ago, there was a movie called Jerry Maguire starring Tom Cruise. Jerry Maguire was based on this gentleman called Lee Steinberg, who was the first big sports agent. Well, he still is huge. He has Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Super Bowl quarterback, etc. And he wants to put together this amazing school on 16 acres next to this $250 million facility already there. And the theme is, it's a high school, the theme is the warrior athlete. Not that you have to be a great athlete, but what does it take to be a great athlete?
Yeah.
Dedication, discipline, teamwork, losing properly, winning properly, how to change when you need to. So that entrepreneurship from day one, you learn about that penny and how it grows or doesn't grow. You start your own business in the first month. We're going to guide you all the way through graduation, how you did. And so entrepreneurship at the highest level.
And those are the whole discipline and all of those, and performance, all of those things, all those qualities and high performing athletes and high performing athletics. That shows up in entrepreneurship too.
100%.
Got to be consistent, got to have discipline, got to be patient, got to win well, lose well, communicate well. Anyway, sorry, just wanted to.
No, you're 100% right. And the third element is being a whole person. So we have meditation, mandatory, yoga, mandatory. So when you come out of there, you have these qualities that you're ready for university, you're ready for life. And so we're actually doing our first, it's called Regulation CF. It's a crowdfunding where anybody, you don't have to be accredited to invest in this. It's great. It's called the Lee Steinberg Sports Academy. It's called Steinberg Sports Academy, SSA. You can Google it. It's on there. And
I'll make sure the site is included on the show notes too, so people have access to it.
Yeah, that's great. And we're going online in September. Then we're building that school for next September. And it's, I love the fitness world, still involved in it, but this is something that's really going to make a difference for children. As I said, I have an 11-year-old boy. And the thing is, we're going to be able to franchise this. We're going to get a proof of concept, make sure it's great. Then we're going to take it all over the world. Singapore, Hong Kong, China, New York. It's a need. We're going to make it like a Baskin and Robbins. Your teacher will be trained at our training school. You'll have the curriculum. We'll design the site for you, make it so that you just turn the key. That, I think, is going to really be a game changer. I'm sure it is.
Absolutely. Well, and just to allow the access, and then, I mean, it's how you scale and you white label all those things. And then you have your process, as talking about the brand and the consistency and the feeling and the experience. the proof of concept that you had in the gym world, it's gonna be the same thing in the education world too. September is not that far away though, so it's kind of down to the wire to getting at least your online stuff started. But I think it's all kind of aligned to begin.
Yeah, and what I learned at Club Med or wherever I did on my tricycle, as entrepreneurs, it's lonely sometimes, You're out there swinging for the fences and you're missing every ball and you forgot how to hit it sometimes. And you have to, at those times, go inside, be quiet,
Absolutely.
listen, still your mind. The answers will bubble up for you, maybe not at that minute. It'll show in another way. But entrepreneurs are a gorgeous group of people that have passion, believe. I love being around entrepreneurs. They just totally re-energize me.
Absolutely.
And I admire them in all fields. But what we learn really it goes through any industry. And you have to be the best version of yourself to really hit it. So entrepreneurs, you have to take care of yourselves first. You have to have a morning routine. You have to stick to making the golden goose shiny. Because many times in a startup, we do everything. Right? We're doing everything, but you still have to take care of yourself first. That's the only way that a leader can truly lead, when she or he feels it.
Yep.
And your team will see it. The world will see it. So there's no imposter syndrome. You've got to take care of yourself first and use that energy and power to re-energize your staff, your team, and your customers. Doesn't matter what it is.
Well, this is usually how I ask you to give advice to entrepreneurs, but I think that's the great piece of advice to walk away from. So many good nuggets from this conversation today about taking care of yourself. There's so many good lessons about brand and discussion about brand and feeling, and then even thinking about how to recreate that brand and recreate that feeling in another place, making sure things are consistent, making sure we're disciplined. All of those things are so important. So many important nuggets for our listeners out there.
I hope so.
Erica, one final question for you. When you trusted your intuition a few times in your life to take you in certain directions, did you have a mentor that helped you discover that, or was it something that just happened through experience? What was the light bulb moment? How did that happen for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Later on, I had a business mentor, Ray Wilson, who I had mentioned, also Mark Mastro. But when I was 13, my cousin, who was about 22, he was a hippie. He was all the way out there. He threw a book. He said, read this book. And I remember it completely. It was called Concentration by a yogi named Muni Sadhu. And in it, it talked about mantra, talked about chakras, it talked about energy, it talked about the supernatural, harnessing your energy, focusing it to make a difference. And at 13, I gained some supernatural powers from that book and freaked my mother out more than once. And that was the start of my journey in the spiritual. I ran away to India a year later with my bar mitzvah money, looking for a guru. So I've always been aware of the silence and the power of meditation.
Sure.
So that's where it started. I realized the magic on my own with direct experience. And I've never walked away from that. Sometimes more into it than others, but it's really an important part of my life. So whatever it is for you entrepreneurs out there that gets you to that spot, it can be running, it can be swimming, it can be tennis, it can be gardening, as long as you're in the flow, the moment where you can reach yourself, those are the golden nuggets that'll come to you in your exact moment of space-time.
Well, that is an excellent piece of advice. And interesting. I just as a final side note, I just ran a half marathon a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not a runner at all. I'm not very fast. I'm not fast at all. I'm a 12-minute mile kind of girl. And and I'm also tall. And so anyway, there's no excuse, but I just never have been a runner, not much of an athlete. I was more the debate coach kind of person, but I did discover, especially on those long runs, that's the time for meditation. And that's when I got some ideas, and it's amazing the synergy that's created in that. I think there's a ton of power in that. So that's a good reminder to have, and a good piece of advice, since you've had so many successful pursuits. That's a good piece of advice to follow.
That's great, Shelby. One other thing, I'm sure you've all heard of Deepak Chopra. He had a course called Synchrodestiny. And as entrepreneurs, I want you to think about dominoes. So when the momentum comes, each domino will continue. There's no effort needed. But the first domino has to come from inside of you. You have to knock over that first domino. That's the world of entrepreneurship.
That is a great place to end the interview, because it's a great piece of advice. Knock over that first domino, and then all that momentum is going to follow.
That's it.
Oh, Eric, this was such a treat to hear your stories and to talk about your journey and all these great nuggets for our genius entrepreneurs out there that are curious about starting a business out of their passion. So many good pieces of advice. Thank you so much for giving me some time today.
Appreciate the time.
And I'll be sure all the site, your LinkedIn stuff, and all your website is included, so we can have information about the SSA. But I so much appreciate your experience and your eloquent ability to inspire all of us to take those next steps. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shelby.
And for all of you listeners out there, if you loved hearing stories like this and hearing inspirational thoughts from the genius entrepreneurs out there that have shown that success, subscribe to the channel Genius Entrepreneur Podcast, and also just come back and listen. I'm always here to help move your business to the next level. We'll see you next time.